Hello, everybody. Welcome to your post-daily news update for Tuesday, November the 23rd. I am John Pollock alongside Wai Ting. Yes, there was a pause there. I had no idea what the day was, but I got it right. November 23rd. Hello, Wai.
It could be a bit confusing sometimes, but we are in the final week of November,
Wow.
aren't we?
Yeah. One week to go, and then it's December. Final month of the year. Very quiet month, Wai. I don't know how we're gonna even manage to talk in December. I mean, there's so little going on that we have scheduled for December.
December is, I would say, outside of maybe April, it seems like our busiest month because of all the holiday programming that we have to record.
I think it's busier. I think December is actually busier. I think it requires more on top of normal things.
Yeah, so we're entering into it, everybody. If you thought November was crazy, wait till you see December.
Well, we're going to get into today's news updates. We have a whole review of Raw up on the site, so go download Rewind to Raw. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're doing it for the subs. Get us to 10K or we will never forgive you. YouTube.com/postwrestling. If you want to listen to these daily news updates, postwrestlingcafe.com gives you an RSS feed to put into your podcatcher of choice. Way I've made the dramatic change over the last couple of months after the iOS update from hell to Downcast, and it has been a successful transition.
That is a major change.
Oh, it's much better. Done with the podcast app that they just sent to hell. I hated this thing. I had stopped listening to podcasts. It was so aggravating.
Really? Okay. I've been all right with it so far. I mean, it's not really as great as it was before, but I do try to use a number of different podcast apps just to kind of stay in touch. So let me know how that Downcast is going for you, and let me know if what you're listening to, whoever is listening to this right now.
I like it a lot, and I'm not the typical person that something changes and I freak out over it. I typically get annoyed and then get used to the new way of going about things. That podcast app, I gave it a week and I was just like, I hate this. I hate this experience every single time. And that I just stopped listening to podcasts.
That's too bad. I'll send Apple a message about that.
Go to hell, Apple. All right, let's get into numbers from Friday night. SmackDown did 2,064,000 viewers, 683,000 in their demo. It was their lowest viewership going back to the end of July, lowest demo since October the 8th. So it was down from what they had been averaging, although the decreases were minor in comparison to last week. They were down 2% in viewership, 6% in the demo. Now, to put into context what was going on Friday night, you had a pretty big NBA game between the Lakers and Celtics, two, a major historical rivalry. On top of that, you had the verdict read for the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and therefore news coverage was through the roof on Friday night. So that is something that the news was what both shows had to contend with. Celtics and Lakers, that directly impacted SmackDown. Rampage, on the other hand, did 556,000 viewers, so they fell down to 17th among cable originals, although they were up 8% in viewers and up 9% in 18 to 49, doing a 0.22. So I would still say like Rampage is starting to settle into this kind of sub 600,000 viewership mark and sort of looking in that 0.20 to 0.24 range. And that's just kind of where the show is settling. I don't think this is a show where I would say I would have had much different expectations if whatever was on Friday night was not a factor. So, I mean, I would say as typical numbers as you are going to get, even if they were maybe on the low side of the last 2 months.
Yeah, seems like a settling point right now. Do you see any variation coming up with any of these shows?
Well, this week will be interesting because Dynamite is in Chicago. They have a show at the Wintrust Arena on the eve of Thanksgiving, which the last 2 years we have seen Thanksgiving Eve has not done well for Dynamite. And you have like the inverse where this year we'll get to see, is there going to be any kind of bounce back on the Friday, the day after Thanksgiving? I don't know if it'll make any kind of difference, but they do have Eddie Kingston and Daniel Garcia announced for Friday. And I guess we'll get the rest of that lineup coming up on on Wednesday. What's your sense for Dynamite this week with both CM Punk and Bryan Danielson having matches in a major market like Chicago? Forget how it's going to do numbers wise, but do you have an added excitement for this Dynamite, or is this kind of a typical fare by this point that Punk and Danielson wrestling, it's not going to be the novelty every time out?
I definitely think it's maybe closer to typical at this point. I feel like we're in I don't really want to say a lull because Dynamite is usually very high quality, but I know there are a number of big shows on the horizon that we're just kind of waiting to get to. But that said, I'm very much into this Daniel Bryan storyline, and I definitely want to see what this Cole Cabana match looks like on Wednesday.
Also, just in terms of the Canadian numbers, SmackDown on Friday on Sportsnet 360 did 159,000 viewers. That's definitely on the higher end of what SmackDown does, and doing 75,200 in the 25 to 54 demo, which is the main demo measured in Canada. So among sports programs Friday, which included the CFL, several other games that were going on, they were sixth in viewers, but third in the demo. So that was a very good number for SmackDown in Canada this past Friday night. Let us move on, and we'll take a look at Variety's article. They outlined a presentation that went on over the weekend prior to Survivor Series with many of the WWE's key executives speaking to advertisers. This included Nick Khan, who was there front and center for the main event on Sunday night to see Roman Reigns and Big E up close and personal, Stephanie McMahon-Levesque, and Claudine Lillian, who is their head of global sales and partnerships. And a lot of this was essentially like an upfront presentation for advertisers to really sell the company. Some statistics that Stephanie threw out included that 75% of its audience is between the ages of 18 to 49, that she called the sweet spot. Now, she didn't really break down if we are going strictly on television numbers, that 75%, that is a very charitable number of their 18 to 49 audience. But again, this was not broken down into how they arrived at this number, but maybe from the same people that said that there are hundreds of millions of WWE fans worldwide that supported the WWE network eventually getting to 3 to 4 million subscribers.
These are things that I'm incredibly curious about. How do they arrive at these demos? Because, I mean, as they mentioned, WWE is a very wide mass media reaching platform, but are we talking about people who buy the toys? Are we talking about people who listen to their, I don't know, New Day podcast? Is it people who visit their YouTube channel? Like, you have to be a
75% of our audience at one point in their lives were between the ages of 18 to 49. Maybe they could say that.
Yeah, if there's something we've learned about this company is that we know they love to play with numbers. I don't know if there are rules about these sort of upfronts and how accurate.
This is not like an SEC filing or anything. This is a presentation to advertisers, and I mean, I'm sure they have their methodology. They just don't disclose that. So maybe you have to give the benefit of the doubt.
Is there any legitimacy to through Nielsen ratings that 40% are women and 75% are in 18 to 49? No, right? Like when we're just talking about ratings.
I mean, we do typically get like the breakdowns of like male, female viewership. I mean, the Observer will have that. Like 40% is like that is in line with what their audience is. And then stating that they over-index with African-American and Hispanic audiences. So that was kind of the sales pitch from Stephanie. She also noted that in a non-pandemic year, they run over 500 events per year, which I don't know if that's just part of her kind of presentation that she has had, but this would be one of the only references I've heard to the idea of the old model of touring that they are not showing any signs of returning to. Nor do I think it would make a whole lot of sense for them, given where live events were performing quarter over quarter before the pandemic. On top of things, that 500 events per year, that would include a touring, in fact, 2 touring NXT brands of the main stars and then the Florida Loop, and they're not doing any touring at all. So I don't know if you read much into her including that line, but I would be very surprised if we ever get close to figures like that again when it comes to live events per year.
Right. Yeah. Makes you wonder the next time they do one of these, what that number is going to be. Is it even a metric that I think they'll care so much about, especially when they're making money so much, in other areas?
Certainly. I like live events. Like it used to be this, it had turned into like this albatross on their earnings. And this past quarter, it was one they got to tout the success of with their return to fans. It's probably going to be more down in this fourth quarter, but nonetheless, live events seem to be in a better kind of strategy of kind of limiting them and going to more advantageous markets. And they're also boosted. They're going to be boosted next year with all of these stadium events that are going to increase your average when you incorporate those as well. And then Nick Khan got up their way, and he gave a Nick Khan presentation here. And there's a little line that he dropped here. Of course, the English Premier League and NBC had a big deal announcement last week, and it was reportedly worth $450 million annually. And Nick Khan throwing out that we believe it is worth 460 million, not 450 million. So Khan getting in his media expertise here as he reports this, and Nick Khan has a pretty good track record when it comes to his what we expect, what we believe these rights are worth. And he added about his optimism about the next round of negotiations for the domestic rights for Raw and SmackDown. He said, "You're seeing these numbers continue to go up. You're seeing them go up for properties whose ratings are up, for properties whose ratings are stable, and even for properties whose ratings are down. There's no other sports-like programming that goes like that. And for our sponsors, it allows you to stay present in the minds of the fans long beyond the end of the NFL season. We will never go away. We are WWE, multiple nights a week, 365 days a year, 24/7, WWE. A great buy for you," says Nick Khan. And listen, I think that I think Nick Khan carries enormous weight, that when he says this, I believe that many people are going to be very, very optimistic about the WWE setting forth for these next rounds of negotiations. And that is their selling point. The fact that we are in comparison, like not crazy priced out of the market programming that you get 52 weeks a year. There's no off season. It's for Fox to have SmackDown for 2 hours of its primetime schedule on a Friday night, rather than commissioning a scripted series that you're going to get X amount of episodes and then have to fill that slot for the remaining weeks of the year. I am very interested to see what kind of bidding process there is of how many people are interested in WWE programming, because I think there will be a lineup of people that are going to be more than willing to make a pitch for WWE.
Absolutely. We can all, I think, criticize so much about this company. Certainly maybe its hiring policies and the quality of its shows and eggs and all this other shit. But ultimately, this is what it's about. And I don't really think Nick Khan is out of line at all. There's a reason why I think somebody with his track record decided to take this job. And I think it's rightfully because he sees an incredible amount of untapped potential and growth in this company. And looking at these numbers, I can't disagree at all.
Kenny Omega has vacated the AAA, the Triple A Mega Championship after a 2-year reign. Of course, he has several, I would say, minor surgeries coming up that have been outlined, and they've got the Triple Mania card coming up on December the 3rd in Monterrey, Mexico. And it is looking like it is going to end up as a multi-man match with Vikingo involved in the match. They have not announced all of the participants yet, but I imagine an announcement is imminent about what will be the new match for the vacant title. Kenny Omega sent in a promo indicating that he will definitely be returning to the company once he is healthy and ready to do so. It seems that the match with El Hijo del Vikingo is one he definitely wants, and I think it's a match that they will deliver at some point. But in that time period, they will have a new Mega champion after Omega's reign here. I'm very curious to see how much attention this card gets, Way, because there's this major stumbling block of AAA being able to broadcast their shows into the US, and whether that is going to get resolved. And this is another card that is one of those kind of stopping off to check on AAA kind of events where you have Cain Velasquez on this show and you don't have Kenny Omega, but nonetheless, you are going to have AEW involvement. But it is a bit of a process to follow these big shows unless you're on like Lucha Blog's Twitch channel.
It's a real shame that, like, they've had this, I mean, pretty notable run with Kenny holding this championship, and I can't really tell you how many matches the vast audience that would be watching a Kenny match has actually seen of the run. I don't know why it's taking this long to sort out a deal like this that you would figure would be, comprise a good chunk of their market, but it almost feels like, Kenny is more of a AAA champion simply on AEW than in AAA itself. So I don't know how much value they've really kind of gained, and it's kind of unfortunate because I think there's a lot of interest in names like Vikingo right now, this side of the world.
So yes, we'll update this card once they make this announcement of the individuals involved in the match. But staying on the Kenny Omega front, they wrote him off of being the elite. So it's kind of pretty much Kenny Omega ceasing connection on AEW programming to AAA, and now on being the elite. So on Monday's show, Kenny, they're all in the hotel room. He's with the Bucks, with Nakazawa and Adam Cole, and he's stating he's not going to be on the show for a while. And Adam Cole got him a gift, and he presented Kenny with a Monster Energy drink. Now, Wade, do you want to explain the historical significance of the Monster Energy drink in the being the elite history?
Well, of course. The Monster Energy drink, of course, is where Adam Cole. Okay, so so when Adam Cole signed his contract with WWE, they had to write the Adam Cole character off of being the elite, and this came through Kenny Omega giving Adam Cole a poisoned Monster Energy drink. So when Adam Cole came back to being the elite, they um they brought him back via seance. So this Adam Cole has no recollection of how he died, only maybe some feeling of what might have caused it. So we don't exactly know if Adam Cole is fully aware right now of how he died, or that he, whether or not Kenny was the one who poisoned him. But we did have Adam Cole presenting Kenny with a Monster Energy drink, and then Kenny subsequently drinking that drink on this episode, though I don't believe it was poisoned.
No, it's he kept avoiding drinking it and then appeared to take a sip from it and then started coughing, and everyone freaked out, but it had just gone down the wrong way, and Nick Jackson was worried for a second that he thought Kenny had signed with WWE.
Yes. So a lot of very funny infighting, and this is the tone of the show. It's hilarious. It's great. Adam Cole fits really like a glove back into this mix with these guys, and I think it sets a very expected story of a potential replacement in Adam Cole for Kenny Omega.
What do you think is the best way to reintroduce Kenny when he is ready to come back? Is he coming back and he is immediately aligned back with the elite and you tell the story that way? Does he come back? I guess the question is, and this was brought up on Dynamite last week in that pre-tape, was I haven't watched the match back yet. So the question is, does Kenny Omega buy the replay on Fight TV? Because it'd be pretty tough probably to get that replay on BR Live, given all the problems they had. Does Kenny shell out the money to buy his own pay-per-view and he watches what happened in the main event with the Young Bucks?
I would think so. I would think at this point, if he hasn't already, maybe he's watched Brian Mann's The Good, the Bad, and the Elite, and happened to catch it. I mean, I think the obvious storyline is some infighting between the Elite, something ultimately against the Bucks, and then something ultimately against Adam Cole. So I would think that Kenny's run as a heel is probably over, and that he might be on his way to becoming a babyface.
Maybe he'll do the CM Punk, because Punk said after the Darby Allin match that he loved the match and he would not go back and watch it because he'd find things he didn't like about it, and he doesn't want to taint the memory of that match. And maybe Kenny's going to say, listen, I got like 5.5 stars for this match. I'm not going to go and rewatch it. I thought it was a tremendous match. I came up short. I can accept the loss. I'm not going to rewatch it. It would just be too hard to sit down and watch it. So I'm never going to watch this match ever again. I will never watch it.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, but you figure he's on Twitter though. You figure like he's reading reports about it, right?
Maybe he's not. Maybe he's off Twitter.
Off of social media. Okay,
Maybe
not a
he's
bad
got,
way to spend rehab.
He's got someone to take care of all of that for him. Well, they've certainly got many different paths that they can take with this story that I imagine is going to be one of the dominant ones in AEW in 2022.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Final thing is it's Tuesday, Way. NXT 2.0 tonight. Probably not going to be doing a 2.0, but it's going to be featuring Carmelo Hayes, Pete Dunne, and Johnny Gargano for the North American Championship, a non-title match between Tommaso Ciampa and Grayson Waller, a non-title match between Mandy Rose and Cora Jade, and a tag match with Way's Tag Team of the Year, Indy Hartwell and Persha Parada versus Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro.
Yep, it's another Tuesday, and it's another edition of NXT. I can't tell you that there's really any time where I'm excited about these matches. Although I think Carmelo Hayes versus Dunn versus Gargano actually should be probably pretty great.
Could be very good. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, but beyond that, I think my interest in this like stems in how much all these people are progressing. How do we follow up on the poker game between Duke Hudson and Cameron Grimes?
Maybe they're going to play different games. Texas Hold'em didn't go Duke Hudson's way. Maybe they can. I don't know.
I don't know if you could just change gimmicks like that. He is a poker player, John. He's not a craps player.
We don't know that he's not a craps player. He just hasn't shown us that side of him yet.
He's gonna have to come up with a brand new set of analogies if it's I mean, he missed his opportunity for roulette. Really, like that was spin the wheel. Anyway, so I don't know, dude. Like, it's definitely a declining interest for I think a lot of people at this point, knowing exactly what to expect with this NXT. And
do you think we're getting a men's War Games match on this pay-per-view as well?
Man, I would think so. Isn't that what they did last time?
Yes. You did have Ciampa cut the promo last week on the guys in the locker room like Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker. So that kind of led me in the direction that we are going towards a men's War Games match with Team Ciampa and Team Braun Breaker.
Yeah. And are we doing an old versus new type of deal like you were suggesting, or is it strictly a mix?
That would only make sense of who Ciampa would line up, because he's not really attached to anybody. It would make sense that it would be, your LA Knight is kind of feuding with Grayson Waller, so you could put him in there. Gargano is tied to Carmelo Hayes, as is Dunn. So the only thing is you put all these people into one match. Like, how many matches are we going to get on this card? Like two? I'd be fine with that. I'd be totally fine with a 90-minute War Game show that features 2 matches and maybe one in between. I would be completely fine with that. I don't need a 3-hour NXT 2.0 show.
Well, I mean, one of the great things about TakeOver in the past has been its short length and the all killer, no filler mentality of these shows. Now, I don't think you're really going to get that with like this current roster, but still, because this roster is so inexperienced, I think you definitely will benefit from having shorter shows, not having matches go as long as they need to, and strictly presenting matches that people are really interested in, and saving the ones that people aren't so interested in for bigger TV matches.
Yeah, it would be a welcome change to just get a sub 2-hour big show from NXT 2.0. I think it would be the way to go, but we'll see what happens. So that's coming up tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll chat about NXT 2.0 and whatever else is going on, Way. So I am now off. It's a historic meeting. I am going to go to the House of Ting. I'm very excited about this. He won't tell me where it is. I'm being picked up by a driver. And then it's like going to the Batcave, where I think they're going to drug me. And then I won't remember where it is. I will be brought there to do a show. And then I will be chloroformed and sent back to my house. These are the parameters of being invited into the home of Wai Ting.
I believe you've received a little card with the symbols necessary to.
I get that reference now. Yes,
there you go. I thought that's what you were going, dude, with all the chloroform. And
I actually was not, even though that's exactly how.
Much more timely reference than The Batcave. Why would somebody get drug somebody?
That's what I always think of when it comes to like a hidden place. Remember when they brought Commissioner Gordon there the one time?
There have been many Batman iterations, so I'm not exactly
I'm
sure.
talking about the Batman series on television, the classic with Adam West, the only
See,
Batman series of substance.
it
With
is
all
not
due
the first
respect.
Batman I would think about would be the Adam West.
That's number one. No one could touch them. It's where WWE could draw so much inspiration from. Like you have Egghead, who could have been the mastermind behind all of this on Monday night.
Some mid fight dancing and some onomatopoeia like in bold letters as they
the
wrestle.
Tribal Chief versus King Tut. That could be an enormous pay-per-view attraction.
Yes, of course. Well, everybody, that might have just been a little bit of a taste of what is to come later on in the Post Wrestling Cafe tonight, because John Pollock is coming over to record the latest edition of Talk. This is a special patron-only podcast where we only talk. We just talk. No agenda in mind. Although maybe this one might be a little bit different, because I think John and I will discuss how these, daily news update experiments are going. Some other changes to come in the post wrestling world and the Post Wrestling Podcast. So check that out. We have no idea how it's going to go.
Yes. So there you go. Unless we ever come out with Pollock and Ting sing, this is the most.
It rhymes, actually.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
We can look at that in the future. All right. Check it out tonight. Goodbye.